What principles are you running for re-election on?
You know, my write-in opponent likes to say he's beholden to no one. I think that's an awfully big mistake. I am beholden. I'm beholden certainly to my God, my country, my state, my family, but in particular, I'm committed to the voters that I represent in House District 86. When I first ran for office, I said I'd run with a strong voice and an effective leadership. I've done that. I've proven that in the mere 2 years that I've served in the House of Representatives. I was able to hold dearly to my conservative values. I'm rated as one of the most conservative members of the House of Representatives. I'm proud of that. I also proceeded on creating private sector jobs. It's jobs. It's not about reforming the legislature, as some candidates like to say. It's about getting jobs, getting people employed so they make money and have a happy life and a good family life. So my ratings from the people that really count, the people that count our votes and watch how we vote, the South Carolina Chamber of Commerce, I'm a 100%, 2 years running. The BIPEC, which is the Business and Industry Political Education Committee, they watch all of our votes, the business-friendly jobs bills. I'm a 100% in theirs. That's tough to do. The Palmetto Family Alliance that rates us on our voting to stand for South Carolina families, I'm one of only 19 that got a 100% vote there. And standing for the Second Amendment, I got an A rating from the NRA. When you boil all four of those down, I am the only legislator out of 124 members of the House of Representatives that scored a 100 on all four of those most important ratings. I'm pretty proud of that, and I hope the people that send me to Columbia to represent them are proud of that voting record.
Your opponent, Mr. Lobb, would say it indicates that you are running with the pack. He touts that he is an independent candidate, separate from either the Democratic Party or Republican Party. What is your response to that? Well,
I get very confused by Mr. Lobb. He was a fellow that seems to be just trying to find a niche and find a following and get a few votes. He once was in the Republican Party, and it was even an officer. He ran to take over the Republican Party and was soundly rejected, and he stormed out and walked out. He's been very critical of the Republican Party. He then runs against the Republican nominee for this office as an independent, and then he goes to the Democratic fish fry and trolls for votes, and by golly, last Sunday, the Democratic Party of Aiken County endorsed him. So I guess today they're calling him Democrat Dave.
What is your vision for the next 2 years?
Oh, I think we have a lot of things to do in South Carolina, and I agree with Governor Haley. It is a great day in South Carolina, and it can only get better and better and better. We are attracting jobs and businesses. Look at Bridgestone. We're doing great in this state. We have to work harder in the higher education and the technical college area to make sure we have a trained workforce to go to work there, because look at Boeing. The head of the Boeing plant told me the other day, he said he is so impressed with South Carolina, and he tells people everywhere that South Carolina has its act together and is absolutely a place to do business. You know, we're rated as the second best place recently in the whole country, best state to come and do business in. So I'm real proud of that. We've got things to do in the legislature, and you know, again, some of these candidates that run, I'm going to reform the legislature. Look, the legislature is like any other body. It always needs, in any business, it needs correcting, it needs improving. Let me take ethics as an example. In 1991, South Carolina put in an ethics law that was touted as the toughest in the nation. It's been tweaked a little bit, but it's been, 20 years now, 21 years, so it needs improving, because you find things that need to be improved. We're going to improve that. We have 4 study groups right now working to bring their recommendations forward. It's a no-brainer. We're going to have a new ethics reform in this state. Personally, tax reform is high on the list. I'm on the House Republican Caucus Tax Reform Committee for the 2nd year. Tax reform is tough because there's a lot of people that don't want certain things to happen, and so we have to keep plowing through. And we did right by the small businesses last year in getting some tax reform and tax relief through to the small business owners in this state, some $60 million. So that's an improvement. I'm a strong supporter of the fair tax. The fair tax bill, I was the primary sponsor last session. I'll do it again this year. The bill has already been drafted and is ready to be filed as soon as the first date in December is there. The Freedom of Information bill, I have worked really hard on that one, and that's about citizens in this state having the ability to access their government at little or no charge easily. And school boards, small towns, you know, places like that make it very difficult. You know as a reporter that it can be difficult to get the information. Shouldn't be. This is the people's business, and what government does should be transparent and wide open. So my Freedom of Information bill is aimed right at that. It got sidetracked. It got through the House 101 to 1 last year, last spring, and it got stuck in the Senate, which a lot of things do. We're going right back at it. And here's the big news that nobody knows about. The South Carolina Press Association is going to launch a series of hearings and workshops and forums all over the state, starting here in Aiken on December 11th. And we're going to get input from the public. We're going to get the public behind this bill, and it's going to get done, hopefully, this coming year. And that's very exciting for people because they will be able to access government like they've never have before.
Of course, the legislature failed to pass a Department of Administration, something that they worked hard on. The Budget and Control Board is still alive and well. What do we do in the next 2 years?
We go right back at it again. We came up with a very good plan in the House, a good organizational chart that put the Department of Administration under the governor's office and got rid of it, the antiquated Budget and Control Board. We'll do it again, and hopefully the forces that put it down in the Senate will see the light this time. You know, you had two bills colliding at the same time in the last days of the legislature. You had pension reform and the DOA reform, and the capacity to do both was pretty difficult. We got pension reform through for this state. That is huge. I tout it as the #1 thing we did this current year in 2012 is to fix that so we have a solvent system going forward.
Also, a solution to the candidates being kicked off the ballot was never come up with.
Well, that was that was a pathetic thing that happened, having all these candidates kicked off the ballot. Well, we're going to fix that. We've already taken a look at it. Our House Republican caucus has met twice already in the last 6 weeks or so. The legislation's being drafted. You know, we tried right at the end of the session, Representative Tom Young, who's going to be Senator Young shortly, Tom Young and I worked to put a bill in to get a quick fix for that. It just wasn't going to happen because there were political forces, particularly in the Senate, that didn't want to see that happen. And that's just a reality. So we failed on that. However, I can tell you this, it again is sort of the no-brainer. Of course we're going to fix it. If I'd have been a candidate for the first time and been kicked off the ballot, I'd be just as angry as the rest. But it's a shame that it happened, and it's surely messed up this campaign season. I probably wouldn't have a write-in candidate running against me had he done what most candidates are supposed to do, and that's file in the primary, run a thorough campaign, go door to door, meet with constituents, lay out his plans over 4 and 5 months like I did, and then get voted in. You know, we need the primary process. That keeps away all this write-in stuff that mucks up everything and confuses everybody.
Right. Why do you like this area, #1? What keeps you going?
Well, what keeps me going, first of all, you know, if you don't live in Aiken County, you just don't understand. It is an absolutely gorgeous place. You know, we're looking out here over a beautiful fall day. I get to serve a district that's 2/3 of Aiken County. It goes around the city of Aiken. It's rural. Wagner, Sally, Perry, Monetta, Couchton, Mount Morenci, Cedar Creek, New Ellington. A gorgeous area when you get to ride around, and great people. It's a rural area. I particularly enjoy that. You know, they're not horse farms and all the timber, and it's just great. What keeps me going is is really, and this, at the risk of sounding trite, I had a great career. I was on your side of the camera at one point in my life, and I was in front of the camera as an anchorman, and I had, you know, media research and consulting firms, and had a great career, loved it. You retire, there's that moment you say, hey, it's time to give back. And if you still have the energy and the enthusiasm, and Lord knows I have the passion for all of this, it's fun to be of service to your community and to the state. I found a position that I think I can help make some good things happen, but I'm only there for a time. You know, when I ran, knocked on doors, literally thousands of doors, I would say to people, listen, I want you to hire me. And if it doesn't work out for you, I want you to, and they would say, fire you. And I go, absolutely, that's what it should be. We're hired basically on a 2-year contract. It's pretty short, 2 years. You know, the next primary is only about 16 months from now. So, you know, you're sort of always in the campaign mode. But the fact is, hire me, fire me. I was mowing this lawn out here. Your viewers can't see it, but I was mowing my lawn out here before I went to the house. And guess what? I'll be mowing it when I come back because there's weeds to be pulled, and you know, we just go for public service. And I think people don't appreciate that there are people in Columbia. They're lumped as politicians, you know, and then there's wonderful people over there who are there to serve. You know, $10,400 a year, and you work 50 to 60 hours a week. I mean, it isn't about the money, I can guarantee you. You do it because you think you're doing something. And I don't want to sound soppy about that, but honestly, that's what it's about. It's about being of service. And I'll serve my time, whether, well, hopefully two terms. Maybe there'll be a third, maybe there'll be a fourth, but I don't see much beyond that, because it's time for someone else to step up and do a better job than I'm doing. I mean, that's the progression that we should do. It's just like any business. You try to find that person that's going to be the next person behind you to do a better job, build on what you've done. So I must admit, I confess completely, it's great fun. It's fun to be in the middle of things. It's fun to try to make something happen. It's fun to be of service to people. And I get constituent calls every day with, help me with this or help me with that. Every elected official does. That's pretty neat stuff, because you can satisfy one person, getting them through the red tape and bureaucracy of state government, and get something done. And I probably, my best days, as my wife could tell you, is when I go solve that problem. Had one last week about a child daycare center and the problems they were getting into, a little one in a home, and we got it solved in one day. And you know, that's pretty cool.
And besides the bills that you're going to try again with, if you are reelected, what are some of the other ideas that you are working on right now?
Well, one of them is a grandparenting rights bill. It was introduced two years ago, actually, in the first part of this last session, and it didn't go anywhere. And I'm a grandparent. I've got a 5-year-old granddaughter, and when you realize that grandparents have no standing in court, you know, when the daughter or the son get divorced, they're not there. They're not part of the mix. Judges have a difficult time even considering them as part of the mix. Yet, if you go to the schools and ask the principals, they'll tell you that sometimes 30% of their students are being raised by their grandparents. So grandparents need rights. And I've been talking to attorneys, judges around the state, and we're gonna work on that one. The bill's going to be introduced in December to try to get grandparents some rights. The other bill that I'm working on locally that comes right out of Aiken County is what they call the puppy mill bill, and it has to do with the Edgefield County problem of the lady that had all of those animals. And I have been, it's about the commercial breeders of, not small kennels, the commercial breeders. And I've been working with the SPCA, veterinarians, I've met with breeders, I've met with the solicitor's office, I've met with the sheriff's office, I have an appointment to go see the state veterinarian, and all this during a campaign, I might add. But anyway, you know, I'm doing that because these are hard problems to solve. You know, I think government ought to have a light touch, not a heavy touch. And the issue is, okay, there's this terrible puppy mill issue. So do we pass a big law that involves a lot of people and inspections and all of this thing, or do we just have a light touch with it to say, look, we need better penalties if you do that sort of thing. So that's what we're looking at, and I'm getting a lot of input. You don't do this stuff on your own. You know, you reach out and you talk. I did the focus group. I did literally with the people that own kennels here in town. There was about 6 or 8 people there. You learn a lot from people, and you're going to get better legislation that way.
Where do we reform education in this state?
I wish I could tell you that our education system is first rate, number one. And yet I don't blame anybody. I love teachers, and I know how hard teachers work. My wife was a teacher, taught on an Indian reservation at one point, and my sister-in-law has taught for 32 years. So I know how hard they work, how much homework they bring home, and all the stuff they have to do. Not an easy job, particularly with the restrictions that we give them and all the politically correct stuff they've got to go through today, you know, and they have to be careful of everything they say and do. Look, the results aren't there. You know, the United States has fallen to somewhere around 26th on the list of the best educations in the country, in the world, and we were the #1 country in the 60s and the 70s. So we're not doing so well. We're spending a lot of money. Money is not the answer. Innovation is the answer. Less regulation, less control. I do believe competition is part of the answer. I do believe in school choice. I want parents to have the choice about where they send their kids, how they're educated. Parents first. Parents and students first. This is not anyway an attack on our education system, but we've got to be more open-minded about all the ways that we are going to give a child a life-changing experience. Think about that, a life-changing experience. So when they're an adult, they can be Chad Mills on television or anything else they want to be.
Representative Taylor, anything else to add?
Not a bit.